Hey,
Hey, you're right. Hey, Fede. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Can't see you though. All right, and we got Alice joining also. Hey, Alice. All right. So let's discuss what we did yesterday. Yura, you want to go first? You're muted if you're talking.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't have many updates. I'm just finalizing the code and working on the correct updates of messages that I mentioned it yesterday. That's probably it. Just finalizing stuff.
All right, Fede.
I've been working on like ending the free trials. So we have an endpoint now, and I created a I don't know, a cron shop for Google. I never remind the name.
Google
So it will,
Scheduler.
yeah, that. So it will run uh, at midnight every day to check if any subscription is like expired for the free trial, and will change the HubSpot contact to just have a regular free tier so you can handle that. I will see how that goes tonight and push to prod if it's working.
Any luck with that bug that I'm running into with sessions or something?
No, I deleted my account on master and I was able to create everything again. Like the flow was smooth, no issues. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and I haven't
It's
seen
cool.
in our smart look, no one's, I mean, not that many people are clicking the subscribe button. So we don't have too
Yeah.
much data, right? All right, we'll keep an eye out for it. Because I can test, but I can test in like Safari or some other browser. I have all the browsers installed. So, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Fede. Alice?
Um, yeah, I worked on a blog yesterday. Today, I guess I'll check out Olama and the other LLM models. That's
Tiny Llama?
basically it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the goal we discussed about this yesterday was have some initial thing where you can do a prompt detection, like figure out what's the intent of the user and do it in low latency. So Alice is just kind of spiking on different models out there because we have to be conscious of cost, we have to be conscious of latency, um, make sure it's open source. We're an open source company, so we'll start with OpenAI, and then eventually we try to get away from OpenAI, try to go full open
That's
source.
funny. Like, OpenAI, they're not open source anymore, right? Like they
No,
used
they're,
to. I
they're
think
supposed to
they're
be
it's in
open.
their name.
They had like $100 million in investing from Elon, and then they switched
Yeah.
over to a for-profit company. So
Mm-hmm. Yep.
um, yeah, kind of shady. All right. Anything else on my end? Let's see here. I did do a blog about GPT vision, and then I learned my lesson that I need to proofread it because there's just crazy hallucinations in the blog. So some poor guy in China went to the blog and it was like to use GPT for vision for vision, you need to install TensorFlow and like all this other stuff to use it, which is not the case. It's just a simple website, right? So I went and updated the blog to be truthful. So I'll be more conscious of that moving forward. That we're not throwing out misinformation. Although I want to figure out like what's the ideal prompt to give to Haley in terms of like don't get creative with facts, like don't spit out stuff that's not true. So one thing might be, because I have my prompt that I've worked on over time, and so one thing which I shared with Alice also, she can do for her blogs. So one thing was, do we say something like, uh, be truthful with facts, do not get creative with facts, be creative with writing style, something like that, so it doesn't go off the rails and start making shit up, which is a known problem, right? So, all right, and today I found a really cool GitHub repo from Leap AI, which I have one of their tools I pay for doing headshots. Fed, I shared it with you. So it's open source, and you can just run it locally, or you can try out their version that they have. But you give a few images of yourself, and then it creates headshots for you. So I'll be doing a blog about that. Pretty cool project. And then just digging in more. And then I'm working with Mike on our NSF proposal. I meet in 2 days with Professor Chang from UCSB. He's like a machine learning AI expert. And so I'm going to kind of talk to him about what we're proposing for NSF, which is long-term memory for LLMs, which is actually a big problem, right? Having to work within that context window is very limiting. So how do you make it so you give that long-term memory to the LLM so you can have long-going discussions and it still remembers without doing like full retraining of your model, right? So challenging problem. NSF liked our pitch, so we'll see if we can get a full proposal through. And that with the STTR, it's about 300,000 in grant money, and we would split that with Professor Chang and Professor Divyagarwal from UCSB. And those are two heavy hitters, right? Like database expert and machine learning expert, and then we'll work with their researchers and their students to come up with the best open source solution that we can come out with. And then, so I'll spend a lot of time doing that. I did get feedback to our open source contributor that's working on Compflow from the design doc. I gave him some feedback, which is, I just fed the existing design to Haley, and then Haley gave feedback for me, which is fantastic. I did make my pass myself also, but the feedback from the AI was way better than what I was going to say. So, and so I'll do more marketing efforts, creating those videos. I did the video about the future of UI, right? Is chatbots, not click interfaces. Maybe minimal click interfaces, but mostly like you want to update settings and stuff, you just give it a prompt. So that's out there. And so I'm just thinking of like other, as we discuss amongst ourselves stuff, and we have ideas. If you want to throw them to me, great. If you want to do your own, blog or video or whatever, I'm happy to provide you the marketing stuff for your page also. And Yura, can you update your LinkedIn to be Chief AI Officer at Upmortem?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Yeah. So
you just a few sentences earlier you talked about the LLM memory.
mm-hmm.
In scope of what do you explore that? I just don't understand how it relates to Upmortem, and what's the problem you're trying to solve for what?
For smart search, what you're doing, that's essentially our first V1. That's our long-term memory is our embeddings, right? And so we use those embeddings based off the prompt to bring it in. That's our long-term memory. But we want to work with the professors and their students to think of other ways that are even more clever, has more context, whether it be summaries or whatnot. So does that make sense? Like what you're doing is the first version. That was our initial pitch.
Yeah. You're pretty much talking about training your own LLM for your data.
Yeah.
In a way, maybe just fine tuning or something like that. Lightweight training.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I personally haven't fine tuned a LLM before, which maybe I should. Maybe I should cut out some time to. OpenAI lets you do that, and there's plenty of other like local. You can do with the Llama, or any of these open source ones. So maybe I'll spend some time to try to do that, so I can wrap my head around like what's the level of effort for fine tuning. Because if the other problem is like if you're fine tuning for an organization, you're doing a whole set aside LLM just for them, right? That's expensive. So maybe enterprise plan becomes pro plan, and then enterprise plan is like you get your own LLM. And then Fed is like, fuck, You know how long that's going to take to move all those things.
So I feel like at the end of the search, you'll still have to use something like GPT-4 to reason about the found messages. We can improve the process of finding. We can use them like and dumber LLM to find messages, to find chunks of information, and then analyze them with a clever um, LLM,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
So we
our
cannot
first
totally
version.
replace.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our first version is going to be pretty simple, right? Although you're running into some of the challenges that we didn't think about, right? Like on the fly updates of things that change over time, and then the history and summaries. Because even like if someone modified a old message, you have to go back and update all the summaries and shit, right? So we didn't think
Yeah,
about
that's
that before,
crazy.
right?
Yeah,
Unknown unknowns. Like going into it, you're like, oh, this is going to be easy. And then we're like, wait, there's all these corner cases that we didn't think about. So
yeah.
destructive messages are corner case. So, all right. So we'll be moving forward with all that. Let me see if there's anything else worth sharing with you guys. So Fede, if you can just clear out master, then I can just start. I'll test it end to end with a free trial. I'll
Okay.
actually do a test where it goes from um, signing up, getting the free trial, wait 2 weeks, see that it goes back to from the free trial enterprise falls back to free tier, and then I'll have another one where I'll actually upgrade. So I'll do two tests concurrently. One where I have and then we need to think about like when do we prompt the users like, hey, your free trial is running out. You know, you're going to lose your data. We're going to delete your data. We don't want your data if you're not paying for it. It's a liability, right? And it has to be like create that sense of urgency. Like, oh shit, like I don't want to reindex all those channels that I did. That's both a pain in the ass, right? Um, so I'll think about that, and then
Sorry, just to interject, how are you supposed to delete chat from somebody else's Slack workspace?
we'll delete it from our embeddings. We'll delete it from our backend.
Okay, but yeah, I don't know how that works. Like, where are the Slack messages stored? Like,
They're in Pinecone,
okay,
encrypted. So we encrypt them, not the embeddings. The embeddings are encrypted. So I guess if you had the embedding, you could. I don't know. What can you tell from an embedding, like where it falls on a 1,400 something dimension plane? Like you would know certain things. You would know that. You would know certain things about the message, but you don't know what the message is itself.
Yeah, you can find out that it fits certain queries, and then you can reason about the meaning of the embedding. It's actually a very tricky topic on what can be extracted out of vectors. You need to read about that.
Yeah, that'd be
So
a good
I
blog.
believe there are vectors.
Maybe, yeah, let me
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
yeah.
My
Probably
blog. I'll do a
topic
blog
for
about
vectors.
what can you learn from embeddings.
So you do a blog, and then I'll read it.
But
L.
it's gonna be hallucinations. It's gonna be pure bullshit.
Okay.
What can you reason about hallucinations? Yeah. All right. And I try to tweet. I try to do a promotional tweet on Twitter for Smart Search. I tried a couple of different credit cards, didn't work. Really small budget just to see what kind of interest we would get for Smart Search. Might try that again, but I don't know why. I mean, I have to call my credit card company or something to make that work. I need also. We're gonna do a Slack event. It's gonna be virtual. Uh, Probably the best time in Santa Barbara is like 6:30. I don't know if it's too late for you, Fede. 6:30 PST.
Yeah,
Because I want what time is that in Belarus, Yura? Let me look it up.
that's even. That's
Yeah,
like,
it's crazy,
I don't
right?
know. Yeah.
So what was the question? I missed that.
So in early December, maybe the first week of December or end of November, we're going to do a virtual Slack event. I reached out to a few apps. I reached out to Polly. I reached out to this birthday app bot. I reached out to uh, this other app that looks at um, when you have conversations, what's the tone of voice and stuff, kind of similar to what we're doing, but we're doing kind of more at an organizational level. Just reached out to them saying like, hey, we're doing this event. This is a great opportunity for you to, for free, just give a talk that's technical to talk about your app, spread awareness. So, and then I also want someone from our end to do a technical call. I'm happy to do it, but it's better if someone who's actually did the work gave the talk. Like smart search would be fantastic talk about what were the challenges, things that we didn't see that we talked about, like, hey, we had a destructive messages cause all this rework, right? So, and the event itself will be an hour and a half long, and then we'll have a few talks, maybe 3 talks, and I might even reach out to my comic friend who's a really good comic to have him kind of do like the opening. It would just be like jokes about Slack and nerd stuff, right? Just get the mood light. And then, although doing comedy on a virtual event is hard because you get no feedback, right? So you don't know if you're hitting or not. So maybe I won't do that because
Yeah.
it's better for a live event. At the end, we'll do a thing called Slack Shark Tank. So everybody pitches either a Slack app that doesn't exist or a Slack feature that if it was added would make Slack better. And then we'll have a third, second, first place, and those people win swag. So we would ship them swag for their idea. Now here's a twist: the judge is ChatGPT based off a certain metric. So we tell the metric in ChatGPT, like these 5. Remember, like the hackathon vetted that we used to do, where we'd have like the rubric that we'd score. So we give
Yeah.
that to ChatGPT, and then we feed it all the ideas, and at the end, it'll say who's first, second, and third from ChatGPT. So it's as impartial as we can make it, right? So that's the idea. We're trying to get as many UCSB students that are interested in swag. Might be harder to sell. I was trying to get cash prizes, but the budget doesn't allow. It's for food, venue, and stuff, not cash prizes. So, all right. So got a lot to do. I'll be working on all that today. Anything else before we jump off? Nope. All right.
Nope.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks all. Bye.